UFC yesterday?
No, I didn't watch. What was it? 256? 256?
Oh, I don't know what the
286.
fucking number was.
I think
But it was
286.
Edwards and Usman in the rematch.
I heard about that, yes.
Edwards beat him again. So,
oh, did he? Nice.
yeah, looks like gonna be Covington and Edwards. So I don't know. I think Usman has so many miles now as being the champion and being at the top of the sport for so long and being a guy who goes the decision a lot like he did yesterday with Edwards. You rack up a lot of bloody miles fighting the number one contender on a frequent basis and taking just a fucking beating. So Usman was an absolute gangster. Usman's going to end up in the Hall of Fame. I don't think there's any question about that. So like losing a second time to Edwards, there's no shame in that. Edwards has only got 3 losses in his life, and one of them is to Usman because that was a trilogy fight there. But now 2 in a row lost.
Oh yeah.
Usman might be on the downslide a little bit. Might just be things catching up. Maybe like other priorities in life. Made a lot of money, got a lot of fame. He's big back where he's from. You never know how this plays out in the long run. But Usman's been a beast for a long time. So I don't let the couple losses to another guy that's an absolute axe murderer reflect poorly on a guy who was an absolute axe murderer himself at the top of the division. But it looks like Edwards is going to fight Covington now. So Covington, I don't know, like brain damage, I thought, when he got jacked up in that restaurant or whatever the fuck that was by Masvidal. He got jumped. Masvidal and his homeboy said he got brain damage, suing Masvidal. Now he's coming back. I don't know what kind of brain damage he got. Like, beat Masvidal. So, like, Covington's scary. These guys basically...
If you have brain damage, how are you going to get, like cleared? Yeah, you can fight.
Fighting on a mystery island, Epstein Island.
Kumite.
Right. Kumite. Right. Going with, what's his name?
Frank Dukes.
Dukes
to the house is my coach.
Covington seems like a guy who would have Frank Dukes as his coach. I like Covington a lot. I know that's a probably heavily contentious topic to say I like Colby Covington, but like I understand. I think I'm keen enough as a quick-witted young lad that I still would like to delude myself into thinking I am. I'm keen enough to know that a lot of what Covington does is like an act. He's like trying to be a bit of a troll, trying to like take kind of divisive stances on things and be a bit of an outlandish character, because couple that with a fighting style that has you perpetually in the title hunt, right, as a challenger for a world title, because you're that good as a fighter as well. You become kind of that Chael Sonnen character where you can make a lot of money because people want to see you fight, because they want to see you get your ass kicked. They think you're a loudmouth, but you can back it up.
Everything about you, right?
And he does a good job of that. So I'm keen enough to know that he's kind of playing a bit of a marketing game as well. I really don't think the guy's as big of a blowhard in real life as he like purposely comes across in his like public persona of the Colby Covington fighter character that he plays. But I like Covington. He's a hell of a good fighter. So I think that's going to be a good fight, him and Edwards. I'm not entirely sure I would bet on Covington. To be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure I would bet on Edwards.
Oh, no.
That's a rough.
You can go anyway,
That's a tough division, man.
I think so.
All those guys at the top of the welterweight division are like Usman, Edwards, those guys. Even if we're talking Masvidal,
scary, man.
Masvidal, if you start beating on Masvidal, you start wrestle fucking him like a lot of these guys can do. If you start controlling him that way, Masvidal's just not able to get in deep waters with you to that same extent. But if Masvidal can clip you, he can hit you harder than almost anybody in that division. Maybe it's his hands, his combination of stuff, his timing, precision, it's all there. And so Masvidal put you to sleep. All these other guys, I mean, Edwards did sleep Usman in the first fight between them here in the back-to-back one. The second fight overall between the two of them. He slept them there. It was a decision yesterday. But even Masvidal, who doesn't have the pedigree wrestling, can easily knock one of those other 3.
Where does Masvidal fight out of? I can't remember now.
He's from Florida. I don't know what the gym... I don't know if he's American Top Team.
No, I was just wondering because I thought he was
American
from like
Top Team.
I thought it was Europe.
No, Masvidal's from Miami.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, he used to do backyard like the fighting like with Kimbo. There's a fight with Masvidal fighting another dude when Masvidal was like 18 or whatever in like a backyard in Miami. From through the same guys that were doing it with Kimbo.
Kimbo, huh? Because I watched Kimbo before he was on American Fighter.
Oh, before he was on. You watched Kimbo like before he was on The Ultimate Fighter, or you watched Kimbo before he was on like Strikeforce?
Before he was on any of that show, like on the YouTube match, and just like watch it, like because there's like I found him watching bum fights
when he punched Buddy's eye out.
Yeah. I was like, holy shit, that's insane. But then
R.I.P. Kimbo Slice.
Yeah, R.I.P. He didn't have.
Kimbo was a great dude, apparently.
I heard it was very. It's
one of the things about Dana is like. Dana's a pretty genuine guy when it comes to stuff. When he like ends up kind of being wrong and he jumps the gun, he doesn't tend to apologize if there's a little bit of conflict and he overreacts, but there is conflict and you kind of met him halfway for the conflict. But if he jumps the gun early on things, Dana's pretty good if he's wrong and he'll kind of come back to Jesus and like openly admit. And he was always on Kimbo Slice, fake fighter, best fighter at the barbecue.
I've heard that stuff
this,
too.
That, the other. And then he had Kimbo on The Ultimate Fighter. And he said when he met Kimbo, and he met Kimbo's manager, he said these guys were like the nicest human beings, the most genuine, their word. He's like, he was so wrong about Kimbo Slice, about like, he might not have been the best fighter still. He might still have been kind of an untrained backyard brawler. But like, he felt so bad for shitting on dude because the way dude was perceived was as this like big baller, like big chain, scary looking son of a bitch, like come just fuck you up, like bro, just bare knuckle, gnarly, just beat a bitch's ass, hands, like was a bad dude. Like from Miami, like it felt to Dana, I think early, like it was a bit of a slight on the UFC being legitimate and these guys just being like ruffians fighting for like drug money.
Kind of thugs in the backyard just fighting it out.
But he said once he met him and then also met his manager and said both of them were so just genuinely good human beings. He said his opinion changed on Kimbo Slice like so dramatically to the point where he feels the need to come out and when people bring that up, he needs to like say that part of the story into this atonement where you could tell like he really means it. Like he really was like, damn, I shouldn't have been bagging on this guy. This guy was like trying. He was trying to figure out how to get on. He wasn't skilled. He wasn't an Olympic wrestler or a collegiate wrestler or a gold medal judocon or he wasn't any of these things that would have get. But what he was tough and fucking scary.
Yeah.
And he knew how to make kind of these like urban style early YouTube videos that, like you said, they garnered a lot of attention.
Yeah, backyard brawls.
Kimbo Slice was a stud, bro.
Early times of YouTube.
I don't know how we go. Yeah, but I like that about Dana. That Dana is willing to. Even recently, I heard him talking about Kimbo. There's nothing but nice things to say about Slice. Slice died early too, man. He was like 44. He just had that Bellator fight with what was dude's name that had the street MMA documentary from about 10 or 12 years ago. Dada 3000, Dada 5000, whatever it is.
I've heard of something like that.
There's a street MMA documentary of these guys like kind of do it called Street Dogs or Backyard Dogs, some shit like that. But it's like kind of doing what Kimbo is doing.
Is it a good watch though?
It's pretty good because it's like follows like 3 or 4 guys and it's in like, it's not in Miami, I don't think. I want to say it's in like Louisiana or Alabama or something like that in like a town where these guys all get together and fucking fight and they just got like a makeshift cage and like
oh shit, like it's real nitty gritty.
Yeah, dude, like straight like Kimbo's was a whole documentary, but it's that guy Dada 5000, Dada 3, that's the Dada something, DADA, and then like a 4 sequence number of 1,000, 9,000, 4,000.
I'm pretty sure if you type in Dada on the Google, you would find it.
Yeah, but it's a pretty decent documentary. I saw it when it first came out years and years ago, but like, it's interesting. Yeah. MMA's good. Yeah, I like MMA, and I love as much as I don't want to condone like the backyard stuff. Like you shouldn't be doing that because you can get fucking your shit rocked.
Well, the first year
you get beat to goddamn death, but there's still doctors there. You get your shit rocked and die, dude.
Always be surrounded by medical professionals if you guys are going to do some backyard brawls. You can't just be
out, and that's why they kibosh the backyard wrestling. So you don't want to, even though I did that, I backyard wrestled
You
all
did.
through the
Yeah,
90s.
you did.
97, 98, 99, like whole big long seasons of back. I have tons of stuff where I bled like fluorescent light tubes.
Yeah, see, you
Just
did
took a
the wrestling thing. I did
beating.
more the jackass thing. I
Took
always
a
want to throw
beating.
myself off of things, but never did the.
Or like all the pageantry, like the wrestling. I didn't want to just like hurt myself. I only hurt myself because that was like a part of that progress of what the story was.
Younger person, I wanted to be a stuntman, so I used to just throw myself off stuff, roof houses, into trees, stuff like that. Very stupid in hindsight doing
You're a
that.
klutz.
Oh, I am. So, but it looked really natural though, because I am a klutz.
Right, but you'd have been a bad stuntman because you'd like fell off the building, missed the airbag, tripped just on the brick.
I would have survived everything. Would have survived everything.
Just whoop over the side and would have
Hey guys,
lost
we're going
it.
down now.
Just pancaked and lost
That was
you.
definitely what happened.
Son of a bitch.
Absolutely.
Well, we didn't go down that career path because
No.
yeah, you would have been a casualty, a statistic.
Mhm.
We don't want to chalk you up as
No,
another
no.
pancaked stuntman.
Right.
Chalk outline Anthony.
Right.
Here,
Right.
co-hosting.
You ever remember watching like UFC for the first time?
Yes,
And you're
I
just doing,
watched
like,
it right at
what?
the beginning. Watched it
I
right
watched
at
it
the
on
beginning.
pay-per-view. We had an illegal cable box
I
back
had
in
a-
the 90s.
I had a homie of mine who had the same thing. Who had I don't know what you'd call it, but yeah, some sort of a legal box where you not illegal. I mean an unauthorized. And I mean the statute of
Under the
limitations.
table paid for.
Statute of limitations should be up on this.
Yeah, that's right.
man.
Yeah.
Right. My name's Ryan McNeil.
Brad Cosner.
Brad Cosner.
Yeah.
He'll never answer your mail anyway. So yeah, no, I used to be in the pay-per-view scene back in the day because I mean wrestling was on pay-per-view. I wasn't really into boxing. I probably should have been.
I watched a lot of Mike Tyson fights.
Retroactively watched a lot of that stuff,
Yeah.
but wrestling we were big into that stuff. So when the UFC came out in '93, late '93, I mean, we saw a lot of the ads on the pay-per-view channels because you were on that for all the wrestling pay-per-views every month, and there was WCW and there was the WWF. So there's a lot of pay-per-views. So every 2 Sundays, you were there watching a pay-per-view at my homeboy's house. So you'd see these commercials leading up to the first UFC. So like I watched. I want to say the first 9 or 10 live.
It came out like what, 96?
93.
Right? 93.
Late 93.
Okay, so like when I first seen it, I thought they were
There's the
celebrities fighting because like it had the bald guy in the middle, like the gold bald guy as their symbol.
Oh,
Did you see?
right.
And I thought it was like the Oscars. I thought it was that. I'm like, oh, they're gonna have these fucking actors beat each other up. But when I first saw it, it blew my mind because I never. Oh, okay. I never saw some. Okay, I'll talk to my mic. Never saw something so violent, being like, so 93, I would have been like 8 years old, right? 8 years old, and watching that, my parents were, I think, were doing something upstairs, and we had the box downstairs. That was the first time I seen boob. I think I called it the booby box. It was dope time. Anyways, I remember seeing that, and it was just so brutal, like seeing Tank Abbott for the first time, like throwing those haymakers, and you're like, oh my god, that's real. Like you seen wrestling. I grew up watching like WWF wrestling, but then seeing guys get like kicked to the face or thrown down to the ground, and they're still like actually punching them. Oh my god, seeing that, I was like, wow.
So
I was hooked.
Sorry to cut you
Oh,
off.
that's fine.
You said the gold guy. You thought it was the Oscars.
I thought it was the Oscars. Yeah.
So did I miss the part where you explained what the fuck? Did you get over it when you realized it wasn't going to be like Milton Berle beating the shit out of somebody?
As soon as I seen like the first knees and like throws of the fists and kicks, I was like, oh my god.
So you kind of sound like you didn't see it till like the mid '90s, like '96 or.
Yeah, I was around that.
So yeah, so
I was about 10.
I've seen from the first one from '93. Like right from Hoist winning the very first one. So I've watched.
I've seen that one.
I've watched a lot of MMA. Like I see all the prize. And like
I was surprised like you'd fight a couple times in a night.
Back then,
it was like a tournament style.
Back then,
Kumite.
It was but there was nobody that really had. It was more a showcase for Gracie Jiu-Jitsu than it was for anything else. Like it was them trying to basically sell how good Gracie Jiu-Jitsu was so that people would come and start using their dojo. Yeah. So like there's a reason that they used Hoist and they didn't use Hickson because Hickson's bigger.
Yeah.
Right? Did you go watch that choke documentary we talked about?
We watched that together before.
Did we watch that
Yeah,
before?
yeah.
Okay. So there's a reason they didn't use Hickson, and it's because Hoist is a little bit smaller in stature, but almost as good in skill. But then they brought in a bunch of these other people that were still single disciplines. Like they were a wrestler, they were a boxer, they were karate, but they didn't know what to do when they were fish out of water, right?
Getting choked the fuck out on the floor.
And because jiu-jitsu has aspects, especially like some real like fucking striking jiu-jitsu that like the Gracies do, where like you get a guy down and like you still strike them a little bit. And
you can, yeah.
Right, not in any kind of jiu-jitsu competition, but with Gracie, when you watch them do Gracie
like
challenge stuff, they smash guys.
Yeah,
Hickson used to smash dudes in the face with that Gracie challenge thing. Like he didn't get that street record up.
I heard he's a mean motherfucker, like
Hickson's
over 200 he said or something like that?
Hickson was a big guy. He's got to be like 195. Like Hickson wasn't small. Hoist wasn't small. Like Hoist is small in comparison to a lot of other like adult male athletes, but like in general, Hoist is probably like average size. He's not like a small male, right? Like, he's not Henry Cejudo with no muscle or anything like that. Like he's still an average size guy, but Hickson, little bit more athletic looking, a little bit more imposing, broad shouldered and height and the stature and the jaw. And Hickson looks even more. And then because the skill level was still even better than Hoist's, it would have just made it. It wouldn't have done good because you would have mopped the floor with guys. Hoist was going to be outweighed by guys that were going to be...
They want to show off skill.
They want to show Hoist being able to overcome some stuff and use Gracie Jiu-Jitsu as a... Right, whereas Hickson probably would have just been able to steamroll guys even if they were a little bit bigger than him.
Right,
because his skill level and his size allowed him to just be so dominant.
Yeah,
well, that's why there was no Hickson.
He looks like a mean motherfucker.
That was why there was no Hickson ever in. It's not that the Gracies didn't win. Like
he never fought professional, did he?
Oh yeah, he fought over in Pride, but he never fought for the UFC. But like the UFC wasn't just owned by SEG. The UFC was started by Royler Gracie. So the UFC was started by a Gracie.
I did not know that.
And won by a Gracie. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they chose Hoist to put in there. That whole thing was a demonstration for Gracie Jiu-Jitsu.
Right, but when you said that, but I didn't know they were the ones that were kind of behind it. I thought they were just like, you want to be the front runner of the show.
Because at the same time that the UFC's running their like inaugural pay-per-views, 1, 2, 3, 4, is when those tournaments that you're seeing in the Choke documentary are going on over in Japan. The two different, were they Pancrase or Rings?
Oh, I have no idea.
I don't remember. They might have been Pancrase tournaments. The one that's got Gerard Gardeau in it, and Yuki Nakai loses his eye. He gets fish hooked and loses the eye by Gardeau.
Oh, that's gross, yeah.
Moves on and fights Hickson in the finals or whatever.
Those
are like summer of '94 and summer of '95, I believe. Those two. So that's going on at the same time when Royler's still involved in the UFC with SEG.
Okay.
But they're not using him because they don't want to use Hickson, because again, Hickson would destroy that allure of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu being able to overcome these guys that look. Because a lot of the guys they had early on were big sumo dudes and big snack monsters and big truck driving
Cookie Monster,
big guys,
big back ribs.
Guys that looked like bouncers and
not martial artists, not skilled guys, but
not ripped athletes. Whereas Hoist under that gi was an athlete.
Oh yeah, no.
Right? What were the athletes? Shamrock, Severn. Like let's say the early ones.
Dan Fry.
Dan Severn and Don Fry.
Don Fry, sorry.
Right. Yeah.